Three, two, and one. Hello, everybody. David Nuno, TexAgs Rewind. I'm only using that voice presented by Yeti because Dalton loves to make fun of me. Hello, Dalton.
Hello, David.
I think it's not often that you give compliments, Dalton. I know you're a fan of the show and a fan of what we do here, but today you gave a compliment mid-show of like good back-to-backs.
Yeah, I mean, when you go Tess and Marty Smith back-to-back, that's an elite lineup, I think is what I called it. The only thing I'll say is, again, I know me and you like to do the joke of it's not what everybody want, but sometimes you got to do what we want. I wanted to talk more Fury with Tess, like if we're being honest. Yeah. You could do a whole segment of him just on boxing.
Yeah, you can. He's he was great, and he was accommodating, and literally was just walking around, and Nick goes, hey, we were scheduled to do it later on today. He's like, you want to do it now? He's like, yeah, let's go. So he was great. So some other things to expect here on TexAgs Rewind. Conor O'Gara, he always has good opinions. People, let me say, he's always got opinions on A&M that I think he backs up with good information. You don't have to agree with it. There's parts that I agree, parts I didn't agree, Olin as well. Marty Smith, as we mentioned on the show. Caroline Fenton on the show with Billy Liucci, of course. And Alyssa Lang from the SEC Network. Loaded programa. Let's watch it.
What do you envision for A&M's offense this season?
They should have one of the better offenses in the SEC. They have the pieces. I love Conor Wigman, despite the fact that he spells his first name wrong. I'm over it. Whatever. I love the pieces that they return at receiver. I think that Evan Stewart has a sneaky chance to lead the SEC in receiving. I think he's that type of playmaker. And I was somebody last year who was saying, look, you've got to look at what Jimbo Fisher, true freshman receivers have done. Don't set the bar too high for this guy. And I'm like raising expectations now. I'm like, I want all the Evan Stewart stock. I think Anaya Smith returning is so important for what that receiver room needs. And you saw his presence here the other day and the leadership that he's going to be able to bring. And on the offensive line, I mean, can this look like the Maroon Goons of 2020? Can it look like that group? Because this is kind of the way that you would hope a Jimbo Fisher offense, whatever that is now, is going to succeed. And can they fall back on that? Can they have some continuity up front? Can they have continuity at the quarterback position? Conor Wigman just be the guy? I would have also liked Jimbo Fisher to say Conor Wigman's our guy. We don't really care if Max Johnson wants to transfer or whatever. Conor Wigman's our guy. Let's just roll with him. But I am high on what they can do if they have that right system and if they can figure out that dynamic early.
I'm going to jump in because this team has been riddled with injury at the quarterback spot. So you got to do whatever you can to keep your group. From Haynes, from Zach a couple of years ago. Zach was hurt, and even last year with Max getting down, and Haynes getting hurt again.
And Haynes was benched last year as well, which like that early on. I mean, to have something like that dynamic was, and I think we'd have a different sense if of what the continuity had looked like if Haynes had gotten off to a great start the year before. Because up until he got hurt against Colorado, you're kind of like, wait and see. And I was really high on Haynes coming into the year, but we just did not necessarily see it. So it does feel like there's still a little bit more of those questions about the A&M quarterback room.
I love my relationship with Academy Sports and Outdoors. We were discussing off air before we came on. One thing I love the most about it is you can get everything in the world there.
Yeah.
And I'm an avid outdoorsman. I grew up playing every sport. I still like to fancy that I'm an athlete. I'm infatuated with pickleball. They have everything you could ever want from the pickleball world. So you play pickleball yet?
No, not yet.
Got to get you on it, man.
All right.
I'm about 6 years in. I was actually a little ahead of the curve. I was ahead of the curve a little bit. But it's what I love about pickleball is the community that it creates, because your athleticism matters a little bit, but your precision matters more. So, for example, the last time I played before I came to media days, my teammate was an 81-year-old lady named Betty with a bedazzled poker visor, and she smoked everybody. So, like, it's just fun, man. It creates a beautiful community that way. But anyway, you can get your brand new pickleball paddle at Academy.
Well, I feel like I'm at Academy every month. I have 4 kids that play sports, and it's like they run it, they get out, they grow out of their shoes so quickly. We're there all the time. You can get your hunting stuff, you can get food there,
everything. Back
to school, all the back to school items.
Another thing that I love too is I'm an avid runner, and they have this hydration. Like, I love all of the different hydration powders and whatnot, and I didn't know Academy had it. And I was back in the workout area where the weights are, like the free weights and whatnot, the dumbbells. And I looked at this counter and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, they had Noon. They had, like, do you know what Noon tablets are?
Yeah.
They had every single flavor of Noon tablets, and I bought like 10 different sleeves.
Yeah.
So it's just, I love what they stand for. I love what they're about, and I love the outdoors again. So they have everything I need.
Caroline, what do you feel like at this point today, Texas A&M, what do you know? What do you think you know about the Aggies? He was just talking, we've got a lot to find out as the season goes on. You mentioned even Bama, there's a lot to find out. LSU does have the least amount of question mark. What do you know about A&M as you sit here today?
I know the Wegman and Nia Smith connection is going to be lethal.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's really all I can tell you. Because I saw an Aggie run game that was much more developed and much more, just much better against LSU and late in the season than I had seen all season long. Is that going to continue into this season? I have to think it probably will, but I don't know that. Really, I think the only proven commodity and the only thing that I know what to expect is really that Wegman and Nia Smith connection. Other than that, I don't know what the defense is going to look like. Is the offensive line going to hold up a little bit better this season than it was last year? So Texas A&M is one of those teams that I can't quite put my finger on it. I think that Texas A&M this season could absolutely be a contender for the SEC West, or it's another 6-6 season and you barely scrape by and you end up having more questions about the A&M program than you went going into this season. So I think it could be a boomer bust year, and I wouldn't be surprised either way. I'd be more surprised about a bust of a season than I would a boom.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised.
That's where I'm at. I think the floor is a little higher. And you know what? I say that it's been split this week. Some people will say, boom or bust, and it's are they looking at a 6-6 or even 5-7 again? And then about the same number of people will go, no, the floor is not nearly that low. McElroy said that. Andy feels that way. So it's been an interesting mix, which just feeds back into A&M is one of those teams that's kind of every year you have them. It's one of the wild card teams in the SEC. I've got in my head who I think another one is. Who would be if you were to pick a second kind of like, Bama.
Yep.
Even if they're a tick down, they're still better. Bama, LSU, Georgia. Outside of those, is there a second team that you're going, that's a wild card this year?
Tennessee.
Yep, that's me.
Tennessee could be interesting because I don't think that they're going to be the same electric lightning in a bottle team that they were this past season without Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt. But also, I didn't know that Jalen Hyatt was going to be what he was.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to go off for over 200 receiving yards against Alabama. I don't think a lot of people even knew what Jalen Hyatt's name was. So I think that's the dangerous thing about Josh Heupel's offense is he can make maybe not the most talented players, maybe 2 or 3 star recruits, and beat Alabama's 4 and 5 star recruits. That's the dangerous thing about Tennessee. But can Joe Milton kind of bridge that gap between Hendon Hooker? I think Joe Milton is a good quarterback. I don't know if Joe Milton has the same football IQ that Hendon Hooker had, but he's got a heck of an arm. And that's what fits the Josh Heupel offense. Just throw it deep. And as long as you got receivers fast enough to get downfield, they're going to be really, really tough to beat.
What have been non-A&M, or if it's A&M, what have been a couple of your biggest takeaways from the week so far?
Yeah, I'll start with A&M, and I sat down here and I said this to you guys. I'm starting to drink the A&M Kool-Aid a little bit this week, and we were talking about it a little bit at dinner the other night. Unfortunately, and you guys know this, Texas A&M has become one of those cautiously optimistic. I don't want to make a huge prediction because of the way things have gone the last few years, certainly last season, but after talking to Anais on Monday, I was really blown away, not only by him and his journey and his recovery from last year, but some of the things that he was telling me that this team is doing to try to avoid a repeat of last year. Things as simple as making sure they're all wearing the same color socks so that they're all on the same page, and preaching that unity of really getting to know each other and each other's why and what they want to be doing out there. So not only that, but coupled with the talent that they bring back on this roster, especially when you look at the wide receiver room. It's unbelievable to see what is coming back to College Station and not think that they're going to have a big year. So it's still a cautious Kool-Aid. I'm sipping the Kool-Aid. I'm not chugging it yet. But that's been one of the big things this week. And the further we get along in the week, the more confused I get about the West, just in general. I think LSU is many's early pick to win that side. So many question marks with Alabama. Could they be back to where they were 2-3 years ago? They very well could be.
Yeah.
What is Arkansas's offense going to look like? Well, they hit the transfer portal hard. How about Ole Miss? They returned one of the best running backs in the league in Quinshon Judkins, and now they've got 3 more quarterbacks to choose from. So the West, depending on how the ball bounces in some of these games, could truly be up for grabs for anybody.
All right, friends, that's going to do it here for TexAgs Rewind. Do me the favor, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Watch our last day of coverage from SEC Media Days tomorrow. You can watch it live on the show on YouTube, texags.com. You know the drill, all the other places, the zone, you know it. We'll see you mañana.
Share this video with your mother-in-law.
Please, her specific. And if you don't have a mother-in-law, what do?
You should probably find a mother-in-law.
Your eventual mother-in-law, or the one you want to be your mother-in-law.
That's weird when you put it like that.
Yeah, it's creepy. We'll see you next time.